Hello and welcome to the Walk Around podcast powered by JM&A Group. If you are in the automotive business, this is the place for you. I am one of your hosts, Mark Spoto, joined by Kevin Hull, one of our new co-hosts.
Super excited to be here,
on the
Mark.
show. And Kevin, you are following in the trend of former guests that are now stepping into the co-host role.
Man, I'm excited.
It's exciting, right?
It's nerve-wracking, but I think we'll be okay.
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, so my name's Kevin Hall. I'm the Director of Strategy at JM&A. I've been with the organization about 5 years. Prior to that, worked in an entrepreneurial world, leading and starting and leading companies in the recruiting and staffing space.
Well, it's perfect that you've got that entrepreneur background because that aligns so well with our guest today, Marco Schnabl. Marco, if you don't know, is the co-founder and former CEO, automotiveMastermind, and now he's focusing on a new chapter in his life as the co-founder and innovator behind RockEd, a platform that is just sort of changing the game on how employees in a dealership are learning and educating and upskilling themselves in the business. We learned so much from Marco on this episode, Kevin. You know, he's got such a passion for the business. He gave tremendous insights on what it takes to really grow a business from scratch, but also kind of what's relevant to dealers today.
100%. I walked away really understanding the importance of people, but not so much the tagline of people are everything, but really making sure that organizations and dealerships put practices and processes in place to help develop and retain their people.
That's right.
A big takeaway.
It's a great conversation. Now, Kevin, you're known for strategy, you're known for business, you're also known for some dad jokes. Do you have a dad joke?
I do. I want to put a disclaimer out there.
Yes.
I'm known for dad jokes by you, but if you were to ask my wife or my kids, I'm not very good at them.
Okay.
Right?
Well, hit us with one.
Okay. So why did the golfer wear 2 pairs of pants?
Why did the golfer wear 2 pairs of pants? I don't know.
He got a hole in one.
I came with a dad joke of my own.
No way.
Do you want to hear it?
I do.
Have you heard about the cheese that's working out?
The cheese that's working out. I have not.
Dude is shredded. On that note, I hope you enjoy the conversation with Marco. Let's take a walk around with Marco Schnabl. Well, Marco Schnabl is with us. Marco, thank you so much for joining us on the Walk Around podcast and taking the time to talk.
Thank you. Great to be here. Excited to be here and great to see you both.
Well, it's an interesting story that you bring to us. And most people sort of find automotive unexpectedly in their careers. But in your case, this was sort of in your blood and you set out to become a leader in automotive. Can you talk to us just about how your journey started and how you found your way into this business?
That's a short question that would typically come with a long answer. It starts at me being 5 years old, at being at the Frankfurt Auto Show, because my father worked in the automotive industry his entire life. And he always brought me with him when he went to visit dealerships or when he went to corporate events at the automotive shows. And I remember being a 5-year-old walking from booth to booth, collecting these little lapel pins that you could then trade with other guys that were collectors and try to create this very nice collection of your favorite brands and these little pins. So that's my first memory. And then growing up with cars and developing a passion for it brought me closer and closer to a career choice that I made very deliberately to go into the automotive world. And the thing I've learned, and this is all in Germany, the thing I've learned in the 20 years that I've been in the States, as you were just describing, Mark, the difference between getting into this industry by choice versus getting into the industry by, let's call it accident, is a very different set of decision-making in Germany than it is here. So in Germany, education, college degrees, company programs around bringing people that want to go to school or college into the industry are very well known, are very well regarded. And working in automotive is also very well regarded. Where when you are in the United States, it is something that people not necessarily compliment you for, to say, well, congratulations, you are working in a dealership or you're a car salesman.
Right. You sort of fall into it sometimes.
Right?
Yes.
hard to
Yes.
believe
Fall
what you-
in and out of it quite often.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed it very much, and I got a chance to go to university or college in Berlin with a program that Daimler Chrysler sponsored. So I worked for Daimler in my weeks that I was off college, and then went back to college to get and earn my degree. And during that time, I did a short internship in a dealership in the United States for Mercedes-Benz, and that ultimately became my very first job as a sales consultant at Mercedes-Benz in Manhattan, right after I was done with my college program in Germany.
So when you moved over, what made you select, obviously the States, given what you just described around Germany and the, prestige around working in automotive in Germany versus the States? What was some of the decisions that made you come to the States and specifically work at Mercedes-Benz Manhattan?
Yeah, well, it started with really an interest and a curiosity in the United States. It was something that I always was curious about and wanted to spend more time in. And two very selfish reasons led me to then start it at Mercedes-Benz in Manhattan. One, it allowed me to stay in the corporate education program that I was in. So rather than leaving the entire Mercedes-Benz or Daimler organization, because the Manhattan dealership was and is a corporately owned store, I was able to continue my corporate career path. And I thought that the other reason was, I thought, a 1 or 2 year kind of exposure to a dealership in the United States would accelerate my career path. And I guess, the third reason, I didn't have to do another year of sales rep education. So in Germany, if I wanted to do the same thing, let's say in Berlin, I would have to go to another year of school to become a sales consultant before I could actually start. And in Manhattan, it was like, okay, super exciting country, super exciting city, still remaining with the corporate mothership, and I can try this out right away. Let's go, and if it works, it works. Otherwise, I have to go back to the fatherland.
So you quickly started to do retail when you were in
right away. That was always where really my passion was. I find sales to be a extremely exciting profession. The ability to meet many different people, ask interesting questions, listen, learn from those people, not just to build your pitch, but also just to educate yourself. Like, imagine you sell cars in Manhattan. The types of people you run into can be, anything from the person that cleans the streets to, people that are now the president or were the president, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Walking into that dealership or us delivering cars to, the heads of world banks and the general secretary to the United Nations. All of these people were customers. So you had this spectrum of incredibly interesting people, and having conversations with them, listening, asking questions. Again, the sanitation workers saying, hey, listen, when it snows, we in the garbage business see raining money from the sky because we will get to work extra hours, and that's when we make a lot of money. And these guys are making 6 figures, and I'm sitting there, and I think to myself, where else in the world can you be driving a sanitation truck and you make $100,000+ a year and you're happy when it snows? So you learn cool stuff, and that was always something that I really enjoyed. And I think it's a great school for life, being in sales, being challenged every day, having to go after new business is a fantastic place to kind of go in as a first or second job.
So when you think about that context of, a university for life, sales, and then your experience. What were some of the, I guess, biggest learnings for you early on in your career, entering, number one, a new country and potentially a new customer base and new sales cycle and all those things? What was some of the biggest lessons that you learned during that process?
Well, one of the biggest lessons is that the bathrooms here have these giant gaps on the top and the bottom, and I don't even know why these bathroom doors are even there, because the gaps everywhere are big enough for people to walk through. that was a big lesson that I still can't wrap my head around, and people tell me it's for safety. But on the actual professional side, being inquisitive, being interesting, when you get to know someone, finding common ground quickly to start a good conversation, having conversations interesting enough for some time to just get to know the person that has nothing to do with selling the car. It can be very impactful. That can be extremely powerful to build trust and build a strong relationship. When you spend time with someone for 30, 40 minutes and then they look at you, it's like, oh my God, we completely forgot we're here to buy a car.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's incredible trust now that you can start the actual sales process on. So working hard, you gotta work hard in sales. I find it's very rewarding if you're organized, if you have a plan, if you work hard, if you try to get better every day. Look for a mentor. Parts of why we're going to talk today is education, but a lot of that doesn't exist. So find someone that can provide that education on the fly. Those were really big learnings. And I find the American attitude to life and work and being an explorer, trying something and accepting failure is something that can continue to push forward. Very, very unique. And that motivated me also ultimately to start something as an entrepreneur, because people in Germany work extremely hard, extremely diligent, but they're risk adverse. And they also don't think about risk takers as people they should congratulate or promote or help. They rather look at them as, well, this is not going to work out anyway, or why is this person doing this? And I think in the US, this is very different. And I found this so fascinating. That's why it became a home too. It became the center of my life and family. And I felt it's very exciting to see how good this culture, this US culture, American culture, pushes people if they want to do something outside of the regular framework.
So Marco, let's fast forward a little. You mentioned your entrepreneurial spirit, and that led you to start Mastermind, and you co-founded that business. What prompted that, right? I mean, I assume you were having a pretty enjoyable, successful career on the retail side of things, working with Mercedes. What was it, that drive to try to do something different? Did you see something in the market or in the process that you felt like, well, this could be better? Like, what led you to that entrepreneurial leap that you took?
Yeah, multiple things. It all starts, for most people, entrepreneurs perhaps, it starts with identifying a problem that should be addressed. And the problem in the case of automotiveMastermind was, I had my co-founder who was a member of my sales team, and myself, the sales manager at the time, putting deals together on a daily basis. And we had these incomplete data assets that we had to tap into, be it trade books, CRM system, DMS system, equity mining tools. All of them gave us little nuggets, but there was no comprehensive view, analytical platform that could bring it all together and start predicting what the likelihood is of someone accepting a new offer that we would structure. So we thought, okay, that is really what we spent most of our time on. And if we don't do that just on a handful of customers, but our entire database, couldn't we identify even more clients that we could sell cars to.
Yeah.
So we took what we had experienced over years as a sales consultant or sales professional that was up here and down in our gut as the algorithm, and translated that with technologists into a viable model that could actually take an entire DMS file and predict for each customer when, how, why they would be buying a new car. So the initial point was, is there a problem that's big enough? And yes, there was, because we had the pain points every day and we were really good sales consultants, and we had to still deal with these disjointed data platforms, no predictive analytics, very binary outputs that we thought we could bring together and analyze in a more complete way. And then the idea of big data and predictive analytics was already coming. We learned that through customers that were in the financial sector that said, hey, if you're thinking about this idea, we do this on the financial side, you should talk to our data scientists. So connecting the dots between innovation that was underway somewhere else and bringing that to the automotive industry then helped us. Again, the American culture of people saying, go for it, you should try this, you're at the right age, you're at the right position, just go for it. And if it fails, it's still a great learning for you. And then ultimately getting a little push by getting fired also helps.
Well, that helps for sure.
So you sit there every day and you're like, okay, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? I'm not really happy where I'm at anymore, but I still need to rely on this income. And then, getting that friendly push, it really was an incredible sign, and a very painful one at the time. But that led me to the position where my co-founder and I said, okay, this is really the moment to do it. And if all things fail, we start selling cars somewhere tomorrow. We still know how to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So the combination of identifying the problem, having people to encourage you, and knowing there was something we really understood extremely well, plus that little push, got us to a point where we actually went really after it. And it came with turning down job offers. It came with having to raise money by selling, my watches that I had bought during my sales career, having people live in my apartment, not being able to go out anymore, taking a bicycle that I bought for a couple bucks somewhere throughout the city. I mean, this is, if you go into the details of the entrepreneurial beginning, it's as scrappy as it gets.
Yep.
It was extremely nerve-wracking but it's also extremely liberating, because there was nothing there to say, hey, I got to get up every morning. I got to put some pants on. I got to get myself ready. I don't know what I'm going to eat tonight. I don't know if I'm going to make enough money to pay rent this month. I need people to live with me. I need to sell my camera because I need more money to invest into the business. So it was a very exciting and scrappy time that I think about sometimes, and I enjoy. I look back, if you ask me what was the best year, that was the best year, when there was nothing, no success, no idea it was going to work, no money, like no customers, no advisors. It was just the two of us pushing and pulling each other because we believed in this crazy vision.
And Marco, it's interesting when you talk about the co-founder and your journey along this process. One of the big things that Mark and I always talk about is the importance of a team, importance of having somebody in your corner and somebody having your back. And, obviously with Masterminds, you had a co-founder. With RockEd, you have a great co-founder in Matthias. Tell us a little bit about how you think about business and entrepreneurship, but the importance of having that kind of wing person or that right-hand person to support you through the journey.
Well, it's like anything in life, if it's a friend, if it's your spouse, your partner, I think you look for someone that can complement you in areas that you're not so strong in. And, Johannes, my co-founder at Mastermind, we were both sales experts, but his mind worked very differently than mine. And two examples that I always give is, he was overly positive, And he was...
I've met you, so I know you're not overly positive.
Well, imagine even more positive. I do lean, and 12 years ago, I was a lot more anxious and concerned because I had nothing, I had no assets. So you gotta constantly think, this is the last day in your life. Like, this is the last day of the venture. We're gonna go bankrupt. We're gonna get sued. We're gonna get, lose a customer. And he was always, let's go. This is the world. The world is great, and we're gonna win. And this is gonna be a unicorn. And I'm like, oh God, this guy is nuts. But it kind of feels good to follow him. And then sometimes bringing that reality check back in. For me and Johannes, that was a big yin yang that really jived so well. And then from the skill sets, my inkling was, or my passion was much more to build out a commercial organization, to be the marketer of the product, to be more the traditional leader and CEO, to look at the back of the company, to make sure CFO roles are filled, COO, Chief Operating Officer, is filled. And he was very, very good, excellent, to be on the phone with our product team 17 hours a day that were based in India. Very hard to understand their accent. He had the patience for them. He had the concentration, the focus to work with them through every micro detail in the product. And that made us a great combination. So these were some very powerful complementary assets that we brought together, but there were also lots of friction along the way. When you're by yourself, you're the decision maker. Mm-hmm. You make the decisions and you got to live with it. And it's very, very lonely at that top net, not necessarily being anything positive, right?
Yep.
But having someone that you can also then talk to and say, hey, listen, I had a terrible day, or how do you think about this? Should we do that? That's a blessing. And I have the same relationship with Matthias. Matthias being much more operational now, so he takes on the full role of a CEO and taking great leadership in the company, being very organized, can see through big projects. The partnership we have with you is a very, very sizable project that needs to be maneuvered. He has the patience to see that through. He has the skill set, the tool set to see that through, where I wouldn't have that again. I bring the different type of energy and a different type of focus back in. But those are the examples. Yes. Why it's important. You complement each other's strength and weaknesses, or strength and opportunities. You can have fun with it. You can find the right person to butt heads with. But ultimately, you go down and you enjoy the highs and you enjoy the lows. And it provides for an experience you can always look back on and have a strong partner that you're proud of. And hopefully that partner is proud of you as well.
Yeah, so Marco, from what I'm hearing, it seems that there's a common theme around having a support system.
Yeah.
Right. And being able to lean on someone to help you in this journey feels like an important quality that you should have when taking a leap and being entrepreneurial. And you don't have to do it alone, in other words.
Yeah, Mark, I think that is not just what an entrepreneur should do. That's what anybody in life should do. Once you get over, especially in professional situations, it's very important. Yeah. It's very important if you're a team lead for yourself, if you have people reporting to you, for them. Nobody should ever be ashamed of asking for help. And I think, still in professional environments, especially the automotive industry, many people struggle with just raising their hand and say, hey, can you help me with this? I can't tell you enough. I can't tell you how many times I've asked for help or looked for people and say, hey, can you do this? Not because I want to delegate, because I simply don't have the answer.
Yep.
And it's not my job to always have the answer, no matter who I am. If I'm an entrepreneur, a leader, an individual, but what my job, but all of our job is to ask for help. And sometimes it's hard to ask for help because the person you are asking is not open to help, or they're just close-minded, or they think you are displaying weakness. Well, that's challenging. That's really challenging. I would say more often than not, human beings want to help one another. And if you can't find the areas that you're just not great at, and even if you try to improve, you're better off using that unit of time and improving over here because the output is much better. Ask for help in that area. And also go your career, do your job, surround yourself with people that can always fill that little gap that you have.
Yeah.
I'll never be the guy that has the patience to be on the phone for 17 hours to talk somebody through project or through a product feature set. I'm not.
Yeah.
But there's other things I know I'm good at, and I can be really good at if I prepare for it. And that's where I should be spending my time. So I guess the two lessons are, don't be afraid of asking for help. And as you mature in any role that you're in, try to find the area that you need most help in and figure out how you can bring someone in to support you if that's possible.
Yeah.
In a team, if you're a CEO, some people are not great CEOs to the outside world, but they're great CEOs to the inside world. Well, then hire a COO that's your outside COO, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. So you can always, create a team, a support system around you that amplifies what you do well and supports where you have your opportunities.
So, Marco, you've been out of, let's call it, the day-to-day retail world for a few years. You've been on this entrepreneurial path, supporting dealers, understanding the dealers' pains, solving those dealer pains. If you were to go back into the dealership today and be in there day in and day out, what would be some of the lessons that you've learned over the past years? What would you do differently this time around in the stores?
Well, it really depends, what store you enter, of course. But if we think about, if we think about what are some of the fundamentals, no matter what store, where you are, what brand you represent, how old or big or small the store is, it condenses down really fast to one aspect, and that's people. And it starts by, if you're coming in and you are in a position of leadership or authority or management, you want to assess the people you have, right? Spend a lot of time with them, ask them questions, be curious, treat them all with an open mind. It really, all you want to do is ask questions, listen, and learn. But then you, over time, and depending on the situation, you might have to do it quickly, assess who's part of your team and who's not, either from a behavioral standpoint, skill set standpoint, knowledge standpoint. Where can you fill gaps? It goes back to what kind of ingredients do you need to be successful, right? So that's where I would start. And then I would be really diligent on the culture that needs to be built or, empowered and nurtured. I would be really, really strict on hiring. I think, a big problem we see today is in our industry and have seen for decades is this turnover. It's madness. How can 40-50% of all people across the retail world in automotive churn in and out of this industry every year? That this is ludicrous. Yeah. The money, the time, the frustration, the pain, the financial burden that affects everybody in that system, from the dealer to the customer to the employee to the vendors to the OEMs. Like, how can people deal with that? So making your people, your team, your number one focus and priority would be a key and is a key initiative that I would drive. And that really comes with assessing the team. What we do is not rocket science, right? It's simple but not easy. It requires people to do, thank God, because it's a luxury purchase. Yep. It's an exciting purchase. So we want to make sure that the consumer interacts in a great way with people that leave a lasting memory. But you gotta be really strict on what you allow in your team, who you bring in, how you train, how you upskill, how you promote, how you let people go. Building that culture is going to be your number one thing. The number one thing, because you can have all the process you want. If you have bad culture, bad attitude, people that don't care, people that are not equipped, you're not going to be successful. You can have the best brand in the world, and you're going to end up getting poor SSI, CSI, because people don't care, right? So the biggest asset and one of the biggest costs on your balance sheet are people, and that's where I would spend all my energy.
I think that's great advice because, clearly you're not going to be able to build a successful functioning business, but also you're not going to create loyal customers, right? And you're not going to be able to grow in your market if you don't have people that buy in to your way of doing things. So, Marco, on the topic of people, I think that brings us to your current venture in RockEd. And what was it, you mentioned kind of the focus on people, of course. Was that sort of the seed that led to the idea for RockEd of education and making sure that a team can continually improve in a modern, interesting and engaging way, or what sort of led to that development?
Well, if you follow my point around that people are not only a very expensive part of your business, but likely the most important part of your business. If you truly think that or believe that, and as you listen to this, ask yourself the question: is that true? Is that not true? But if you say yes, that is actually true, because if I got the right people at the right seat, at the right on the right bus at the right seat, swimming or driving in the same direction, being positive, going above and beyond, I know I can be doing great things, even if I don't have the best brand, the best location, the best product, whatever it is. Like, if you truly believe that, then you are required to make that your number one priority and invest in that. And I see, if I look back on how did we get to starting RockEd, was reflecting on my time in running a team and a dealership, waking up in the morning, not knowing if they're all going to be excited, ready to go, trained, if I'm going to be cringing when I overhear a call or customer conversation, or an interaction. I'm like, oh my God, I'm ashamed. Could have happened, right? And I'm sure anybody that's walked through a dealership has had these moments. And then being on the vendor side, on the partner side with automotiveMastermind, we have 3,500 dealers at the time. And, they had to all be serviced. And you have people constantly turning in and out. Like, isn't there a better way we can invest in those people? And think about my time in Germany. Education, right? A profession in automotive that I selected to follow. Why doesn't that exist here? So where can we partner up in the industry with companies that realize the importance of the human in our industry, want to be an active part of investing in it? And how do we do it? We combine technology with content in a way that people are used to by watching their social media feeds. We make it highly relevant, highly gamified, and it betters people. It needs to have an outcome. People that are utilizing the RockEd platform are seeing a significant improvement in behavior, in their attitude, and in their knowledge around processes and products. And that's something we really need to reflect on, because when you do, again, I'm repeating myself, when you do believe that people are your number one assets, then you need to invest in them. And how can you do that, right? Pay them well, create a nice and safe environment for them to work in, but also educate them, train them, and give them a path on how they can get better over time.
Yeah, that is, just quickly, that is the theme we've heard a lot, where yes, pay matters, but it's not the most important thing.
It's not. What's interesting is, so, when we talk to our dealer partners and, Marco, when you and I have conversations, and Mark and all of us have these conversations, it goes back to the level of confidence an associate has. And you can relate confidence to engagement, confidence to performance. And if someone is unconfident or not as confident in a specific task, they may avoid that, or to your point, they may not raise their hand because they don't want to show their vulnerability. And so providing a way, whether it be, RockEd, a field rep, whatever it may be, to support that associate at the dealership in gaining confidence, I think will really have dramatic impacts on the levels of engagement, the level of retention that we start to see in the industry. And confidence is the key. is to understand where somebody is or isn't confident, allow them to self-assess, and then provide them the opportunity to self-learn and then reinforce it with other instructor-led or coaching components to it.
Yeah, totally. And I think you guys, and that's why our partnership is so exciting. You guys have been that lighthouse, that beacon for decades in the industry to be a great partner, not only on a technical skill set and product basis, but also on a relationship basis where your field team, your associates are working hand in hand with the dealerships across all levels at the dealer, providing them with meaningful information, being a sounding board. Like, you guys have really set the highest bar in this industry. I think where the magic is going to happen is a human being only has so many hours in a day and so many miles that they can travel and days that they can be in front of someone. We can amplify all of that amazing knowledge and skill set into the dealer base, into the partner base every day, 24/7. Yep. There's no stopping when you have your message, your people, and amplify that even further than it goes already through our platform. And that's a big part of the vision that we had when we built it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So for the dealers that you've been working with, Marco and the team, what are you seeing their interests are? Are they looking more to upskill their sales side? Is it more on the fixed ops? What are some of the trends that you're seeing in terms of the needs that you're hearing from dealers?
It's really interesting. I think there are multiple events and developments that have created such a need and such a demand for us right now. Through the COVID years, I think dealerships were very focused on maximizing the opportunity coming out of it. Most dealers will share with you or us that bad habits have formed. People have been employed or hired that have never been able or have never had to work in a let's call it more normal set of automotive retail environment where supply is available and demand needs to be found. So what we call back to the basics, that's a big ask right now. Help us get phone skill training in place, walk around, needs assessment, and the basics from saying hello, motivating yourself, setting up a plan for the day. On the fixed ops side, doing a proper multi-point inspection, doing a walk around through the multi-point inspection, upselling, objection handling, all of those things are back in the forefront of dealers' minds universally. There's hardly any dealer that will tell you that's not a top 1 or 2 or 3 priority. EVs, how many dealers will raise their hand today and say, hey, I'm a 10 out of 10, talk to anybody in my dealership and ask them any EV question, doesn't have to be product specific, and see what type of answer you get. I think there's an overwhelming amount of information hitting the dealer base today from the government, from the OEMs, from charging infrastructure, municipal guidelines that they need to follow that they can't keep up with. So having proper training, a certification around the EV readiness is a big focus of ours that dealers are gravitating toward. So it's these different streams that we're seeing as those 2 examples are something we're spending a lot of time on developing further, making a very holistic certification around it that we can measure before and after. And then, of course, all of the aspects around F&I. You have invented the virtual F&I office. That's something super exciting, but it all requires a good handover from the sales desk to the F&I desk. So how do we make that a win 10 out of 10 times? Those are very, very important pieces. We do a lot of the product training now. We're going to start objection handling. What are the best 50 ways of working with a customer, overcoming objections? So we'll do and build really an industry-leading curriculum together with your associates that will elevate any dealer that's subscribed to JM&A and Rocket to a new level.
Well, Marco, you have clearly a lot of passion for this business. Yes. And now I think it's time we step into our final segment.
I'm excited.
Marco, we've been piloting, I guess. We have an entrepreneurial spirit here on the Walk
Love
Around.
it.
We're willing to fail.
We're willing to fail. And clearly we've proven that in prior episodes. But we're trying a new segment called Best Bets. And we're going to ask you, if you were putting your money down on something, where would you put that money? We'll give you 3 scenarios, and you tell us where you placing your bets. Okay? You ready?
I am.
Great.
All right.
So
how much money? Like how much are we?
Yeah. Where are you right now? You're in Miami. Big money.
Yeah, big money. Big money play. So you mentioned turnover in the industry, right? And according to the recent study from NADA, their workforce study, they revealed the average dealership turnover rate right now is 34%, which historically is somewhat on the low side. So if you were placing a bet, are you betting that rate's going to get higher or lower than 34% in the next 5 years?
I think we'll see.
Yes or no?
That's Kevin.
That rate is going to go up by a big margin, and then it's going to start going flat again and declining. And the reason it's going to go up, we're going to have a shakeout of people that eventually are going to start making far less money than they used to, that brought them to the industry through the COVID years. It's a fallout of the COVID impact, and I think it's very, very critical for dealers to understand today who is the right person that they should invest in and help come along versus who's going to not be there, and start thinking about how to replace and where to find better suited talent for those roles. But that number, the churn number, is going to go back to 40+%. I'm pretty sure.
Right. So if that bet comes through, I think your earlier point about focusing on people and education could not be any more relevant.
Yeah. And I also think one of the things you mentioned around just the industry's brand, this is something collectively as an industry we all need to get aligned on and continue. There's so much great momentum behind this initiative, but really supporting that this is a career and that this is an attractive and an opportunity to really blossom and grow and develop yourself as an individual, I think is really important to continue to try to, as a brand, to continue to try to drive down.
Yeah, totally. Don't make it a bumper sticker. Everybody has these nice slogans, people first, and it's all about the people. Really think about what that means, and then make that part of your daily leadership meeting, make it part of your weekly executive meeting to think about how to invest in people and make them better.
Yeah.
All right, Marco, next one.
Just before we go to the next one, this is one of Marco's expertise. I think this is, the industry may know him for this.
Industry aside, right? I mean, he knows the retail world. He's built companies.
Yes.
But this next question is really his wheelhouse.
This is his wheelhouse.
Okay, so Marco, here's the scenario. You're hosting a party.
Yes.
You've invited all of your top friends and people.
I don't host parties.
Yeah, sure you don't. There's a party at your house. Your guests are arriving. They're hungry.
Yep.
So you got to make them a spread.
Yep.
What are you betting on? Are you betting on traditional barbecue? Are you betting on? Wait. Let me give you this. Let me give you the scenarios first. Traditional barbecue, skirt steak churrasco, a smoked brisket, or pulled pork. Where are you placing a bet on?
I think Kevin can answer this better than I can. But the answer, because he has experience, but the answer will always be the asado or the churrasco. Nice wood grilled barbecue, cooked over open flame is absolutely the way to go. That would always be my first choice.
How long is that cooking for? When do you start that?
The longer, the better. This could be a 12-hour affair.
Very much so.
Yeah. You've seen it.
I've seen it.
You've seen it.
He puts fruit on there. He puts
The whole thing.
vegetables. It's pretty nice.
All right. Well, I can't wait till I get my invitation, Marco,
Yeah.
for this.
You are invited next. I promise.
All right, here we go. Last one. So we've got the Summer Olympics coming up in Paris. Very exciting. I love the Summer Olympics.
Favorite.
Marco, we're going to ask you about Germany's performance in this upcoming Summer Olympics. For context, the last Summer Games in Tokyo, Germany placed with 37 medals, okay? 10 gold, 11 silver, 16 bronze. Are you going over or under 37 medal count for Germany?
I'm so far removed from the Olympics. If you knew my athletic background, you would understand why. I'm even doing this podcast at a time where the German national team is playing in the
You're
European
not watching it.
and I'm not watching it. So that shows you how passionate I am about the Olympics. So I will say under.
You're going under. 37. All right. Well, we will keep you to that. We'll find out what happens in several months. But
Hey, Marco, just for reference, USA had 112.
Listen, there's a reason I became an American. As I always joke, back-to-back World War champions. That's the reason I had to switch.
Marco, we can't thank you enough for joining us. So much great insight you shared, and I hope our listeners take away some really great insight about their business.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marco. It's always a pleasure.
Love being with you guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being inquisitive. I hope it was enjoyable and valuable. Don't make people your bumper sticker. Take action. That's where I leave you with.
It's great advice.
Thank you, guys.
Marco.
See you, Marco.
We really appreciate you joining us today on The Walk Around, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes are brought to you by the JM&A Group, and a special thanks to our team, Caitlin Swanson, James Gahn, and Michaela Gerritsen. We look forward to seeing you next time on The Walk Around.